Is to the Premier, and Premier, this is regarding the Chief Corporate Services Officer for the WSIB. According to Ministry of Finance Public Sector Salary Disclosure for 2013, your Premier, or your Chief of Staff, is being paid $344,230. Premier, this salary is substantially more than your own and more than anyone in your oversized cabinet. In fact, it is more than double the salary of President Barack Obama's Chief of Staff, who earns about $170,000. More than the outrageous salary itself, Premier, my question has to do with the sneaky way in which your office has tried to hide this salary from Ontario taxpayers.
That's not acceptable. Withdraw, please.
John, I like it.
Premier, why is the WSIB paying the salary for your political staff?
Answer
and why
the question.
can't I find the name of Tom Teahan on the Sunshine List for your office?
Thank you. You see it, please? Thank you. Warning number one. I couldn't resist. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I know that the member opposite knows that the number of employees in my office who are on the Sunshine List is down. It's 10. That's down from 15 in the the former Premier's office. My Chief of Staff, Tom Teahan, earns an annual salary in the Premier's office of $304,000, Mr. Speaker. His compensation for working in the Premier's office from mid-February to the end of last year was $271,282. The remaining amount consists of compensation earned while he worked at the WSIB before moving to the Premier's office. And, Mr. Speaker, his salary is in line with other Chiefs of Staff from former Premiers, and I know that the member opposite actually knows that.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Premier, I can't find the name Tom Teahan on the Sunshine List, but it is there plain as day on the list of the top donors to the Ontario Liberal Party. The Public Sector Salary Disclosure Act makes Ontario's public sector more open to taxpayers and requires organizations that receive public funding, such as the Premier's office, to disclose annually the names, positions and salaries of employees paid $100,000 or more. Premier, your office has gone to great lengths to ensure that the bloated salary that you are paying your friend, your Chief of Staff and your Liberal Party donor, Mr. Teahan, did not become public. Not only is his name excluded from the Sunshine List, Premier, but his name is excluded from the list titled Individuals Seconded to Ministries from Public Sector Organizations. Premier, why are you trying to hide the fact that your Chief of Staff is paid more than any other provincial Chief of Staff in Canada?
Thank you. Thank you. Let's start the clock, please. Premier.
Much, Mr. Speaker. So the Premier's office reimbursed the WSIB for the salary that the member opposite is talking about, Mr. Speaker. That's the normal process for secondments, and Mr. Teahan, my Chief of Staff, is on a secondment from the WSIB, so he is on the Sunshine List. So that's just not accurate, Mr. Speaker. And if we look at the salary that he's being paid, it pretty much is in line, Mr. Speaker, with former Chiefs of Staff.
Member from Northumberland, come to order.
Just Guy Giorno's salary, Mr. Speaker, who 2002 he was paid, if we adjust it for today's dollars, $291,180, Mr. Speaker. Ernie Eves, former Chief of Staff Stephen Pengelly, earned $277,801 in 2003, Mr. Speaker. So, in fact, what I am paying, what we are paying the Chief of Staff in my office is in line with other Chiefs of Staff, Mr. Speaker.
Final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, back to the Premier. Premier, in 2007, Mr. Teahan was earning less than $100,000 a year as a ministry staffer. In 2009, he made $144,000 as the Chief of Staff at Education. In 2010, he switched to the WSIB and pulled in $191,000. In 2011, that went up to $253,000. And in 2013, another raise all the way up to $344,000 per year. Premier, we know you are in the midst of a month-long spending spree that will increase government spending by nearly $6 billion, and we know you've given Mr. Tien over $200,000 in salary increases over 4 years. Premier, is there a salary guideline for ministry chiefs of staff, and can you confirm if Mr. Tien's salary levels fit within this guideline, or is that why you are skirting the rules and keeping him on the books at the WSIB?
I find this a little odd, the member from Chatham-Kent-Essex, in case you didn't hear me. I find this a little odd that I'm actually asking the members of the person putting the question to tone it down, because I was having a hard time hearing the question. I don't need editorials. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, as I have said, my Chief of Staff is on secondment from the WSIB. His salary is in line with former Chiefs of Staff, including former Conservative. He is on the Sunshine List. He's on the Sunshine List, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, he has taken on increased responsibilities since he came into this job. And, Mr. Speaker, as I said before, there are 5 fewer people in my office who are on the Sunshine List than under the previous Premier's office, Mr. Speaker.
I'm not exactly sure where the music is coming from, but it's going to stop. And I'm going to tell the minister responsible for seniors, as I do often, I will be the judge. So let's bring it down. Finish, please.
Speaker, I would just say that, I understand that this question is in line with the opposition's desire to drag people who are working very, very hard, to drag their names through the mud, Mr. Speaker. I take full responsibility for answering questions for my actions and for the government's actions, but I think that this is beneath the member opposite, Mr. Speaker.
Be seated, please. New question. The member from